I've always loved Resident Evil games, one of the top 3 game franchises in my opinion. So when I found out there was a Resident Evil inspired evil puppet game, I had to check it out, and so far it hasn't disappointed. My Friendly Neighbourhood is an upcoming indie horror game, the demo for which is available to download through Steam. The premise of the story is that you are Gordon, a repairman sent by the city to investigate a closed television studio, which has spontaneously started broadcasting what was initially thought to be old episodes of a children's puppet show. Only, something is wrong with the footage. The puppets appear to be eating each other. Gordon's goal is to get to the antenna on top of the studio building to cancel the broadcast signal. Once he enters the building, however, he finds out that this will be easier said than done. The puppets are alive and they attack Gordon on sight. In this way, the vibe of the game is quite similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, though admittedly the puppets are a good sight less scary because they are always in the same places, are slower than the player, and are relatively easy to kite if necessary, something that would not be possible in any FNAF games. In the demo we find ourselves in the basement. Our goal is to make it to the elevator to try to make our way to the roof. Entering the basement, and therefore the demo, by way of a children's slide, lends an interesting feeling of whimsy to the game. On the way to the elevator we will have to fight or run from a number of puppets, solve puzzles, and find our way through the non-linear environment. The Resident Evil influences are easily seen, with the game borrowing a number of mechanics from the Resident Evil games. Not only are there puzzles to solve, but there are safe rooms, where we can save the game and access our stash, the highly recognisable inventory Tetris, a saving mechanic that requires tokens, similar to different items being required to save in some Resident Evil modes, helpful maps which show us which rooms are and are not cleared, locked doors with different symbols, focus door animations as loading screens, and speedboats to move between different parts of the map. Oh, and the puppets will come back to life after being shot down, and attack the player again if they are not taped up. Kind of like Primmonson heads, which would come back to life later if they were not burnt, though again, not quite as scary. The environmental storytelling is very interesting, and I'm curious to see whether there is an explanation revealed in the main game for what is going on with the puppets, and how they have become animated. Maybe the notes and documents left throughout the game will provide an answer. Maybe some of the notes that we've already seen provide clues that we just can't figure out quite yet. The gameplay itself seems quite simple, however there are a few issues when it comes to combat. The first is that the puppets have an unexpectedly long reach, so they can grab you before it seems like they should be able to. The other issue is that the player can get trapped by the environment, or more specifically, the player is not able to get as close to things like walls as they should, and this makes it difficult to judge whether there's going to be a chance of getting around a puppet. Visually the game looks good, but I did have a bit of an issue with exposure when I started it up. Everything had a bit of a white sheen to it, which could have just been my not getting the exposure control right to begin with, but I did have to fiddle with the visual controls to make it look better. I really like the variety of the environments we've seen in the game so far, knowing that this is likely only a very small part of the main game. Walking into the staging area for the first time, for example, and seeing all of the Normans under the flickering light was actually very tense, as there is a feeling that they're all going to spring to life at some point as you make your way across the room. The 2 weapons we have seen so far are also quite unique. The Rollerdoxer shoots letters, and the Novelist shoots books. I can't imagine we will see too many different types of weapons in the game, but I look forward to seeing what other unique weapons we do gain access to. Overall, I'm looking forward to playing the full game when it is released, and look forward to seeing more Resident Evil references in it. I will be personally devastated if the developers don't have a callback to the most iconic Resident Evil jump scare, and have 2 puppets interrupt the door animation at some point. But let me know what you think. Will you be playing the game when it comes out? Do you have any theories about what's happened with these puppets? And is anyone else getting a very weird Candle Cove vibe from the whole deal? Let me know in the comments below.